A Link to the Past cast a long shadow over the Zelda series, and with good reason. It's a great game. Its central hook is well fleshed out, it's packed with enjoyable dungeons, filled with brand new items for Link to utilise. It places those
This is Matthewmatosis. Matthewmatosis is a respected video game analyst. He is also a great and unique streamer.
In fact, it was so great it became the Zelda template for the following 20 years, but in spite of all its positive qualities, it's not a good reason. I think it's a great game. A Link to the Past shifting the players here even at that point it must be completely
Yeah, that's the only real editing I'm going to do for the entire video. It's all downhill from here. Chapter 1. Recommending Matthewmatosis. The sensitive context to this review. Matthewmatosis has unique discussions on the gaming industry as a streamer. As many know, Matthewmatosis is a video essayist with some pretty enlightening perspectives on the inner workings of video games. I actually haven't listened to much of Matthew's video essays, as I find them to be too long. So instead of watching them, I've listened to hours upon hours of his archived live streams, also known as his VODs or videos on demand. With that said, I should probably explain why Matthewmatosis is a unique streamer. It's pretty simple. He's one of the few streamers in the current scene who will truly provide complex analytical insights into the broad video game landscape.
See, this is a societal commentary. This is Suda51's commentary, because what's actually happening is she can see him out the corner of her eyes. So she knows where he's looking at all times. She knows. But the idea is she's got to fly hard to get.
In the past year, I've viewed more than 60 different streamers, and I honestly can't think of many streamers with the same level of quality insights as Matthewmatosis. And yeah, that's it. That's the reason why he's a unique streamer. But come to think of it, I should probably expand on that statement at least a little bit. See, it starts with Joseph Anderson. Similar to Matthew, I haven't watched much of Joseph Anderson's video essays, yet I find him to be an exceptional streamer and I've watched many of his streams. Honestly, not just an exceptional streamer, but one of the greatest of all time. Seriously. Out of a related curiosity motivated by checking out the streams of a video essayist, I checked out one of Matthew's Super Metroid Randomizer VODs. I wasn't incredibly thrilled by it, but I recognized that he would answer questions a lot, lived up to the expectation of quality video game analysis, and could provide video game insights in a live format. Since then, I've kept Matthewmatosis in the back of my mind as I traveled through the scene of streaming. After viewing more than 60 streamers, I've returned to Matthew's material and have come to realize something. Very few in the more prominent stream scene analyze games. Video games. Chapter 2. Potentially Acceptable Matthewmatosis. A theory on the art of livestream commentary and how a streamer like Matthewmatosis may use that art to approach an event. Almost every stream has an event. An event is something that's being broadcasted and interacted with on screen. For most streams, this is a video game. For others, this is a piece of media to react to. Every event is approached by some form of live commentary. Each approach gives purpose to the event and justifies the reason for showcasing a broadcasted idea. To my understanding, there are 3 primary approaches of commentary which give purpose to the event. 2 of them are obvious, and 1 is hidden. I would like to emphasize that each approach listed is not an absolute principle, and I may be missing other viable forms of stream event commentary. Additionally, every approach is used by a streamer to an extent, but they have an approach that they mainly stick to more than not. The first approach is improvisational comedy, where you attempt to formulate hilarious quips live in response to the event. The second is analytical, where you break down the story and design philosophy of the game in response to the event. For the third, I will paraphrase Wooly of Super Best Friends Play fame. Wooly states that streams should be informative, entertaining, or reactionary. Reactionary here as in reacting to the event, not the traditional dictionary definition. So there's also the reaction category. The reaction category is interpreted as the aim of having the viewer relive the experience through the reactions of a streamer to the event. An immediate case where this fits is Path of Exile, where some people like to view the reactions of new players who have never seen its skill tree. In the case of Path of Exile, new players are often surprised by the size of the skill tree. Veteran players may see this fascination as an echo of their novice past. Many other famous games, which have been played by many, have this category primarily apply. This appears to be the case as those who have played such famous games, for one reason or another, cannot replay those games again for the first time. Yet, they can relive the feeling of a fresh experience through a streamer's genuine admiration of a game. Streamers across the scene will primarily attempt to be comedic and react, but only a few will truly take a step towards originality, which has been noted to be a return to sincerity.
There's sincerity in originality. At the very least, all other things being equal, it's enough to set one apart from the other. New things may be more difficult to create, but at least they don't have that legacy to uphold. Originality buys you some lenience thanks to its innate sincerity, or at least I think I heard that somewhere before.
Naturally, streamers want their perspective to stand out from others in the field, yet there is always the possibility that streamers will express a style of comedy that does not truly remain distinct. For an experienced viewer who has been exposed to commonly found comedic quips, they will develop a preference for quips that can remain distinct and stand out in their mind, or just make them laugh due to the unexpected absurdity of it. Some streamers will have comedic comments, which few others will express when they improve their improvisational comedic skills and take a step towards originality. This step towards originality is what truly defines an excellent streamer, at least in the improvisational comedy sense. The story is similar for reaction streamers, in that their reactions are often without deliberate practice and without an extra step towards describing the significance of a distinguished movement that a video game takes. How can a viewer relive an experience through a streamer if they don't know what that streamer is living through, or if the reaction is the same as others in the field? A knowledgeable viewer may find that the majority of reaction streamers in the field have very similar reactions to one another, if they don't take steps towards originality. Having said that, the streamers with original comedy and reactions are few and far between, as they have to take steps to improve their personal style. There are only a few unique, comedic, and reaction streamers who have improved enough to be sincere in their originality. So with the comedy and reaction approach to commentary taken by nearly every streamer and innovated by few, what happens is that almost no one attempts to truly analyze and break down the components of a game with depth or from a design standpoint, which leaves the path of analysis as a unique and exceedingly rare form of commentary for a live streamer. Hence, I say, Matthewmatosis is a unique streamer for his ability to provide analysis on the gaming scene. For a broader comparison and reference to Matthew's approach, there are a few streamers and Let's Players who I believe to have truly done the analytical approach. Some are expected, and the others are surprising. As always, I cannot view every streamer in the scene, but of the many I have viewed, these streamers stand out. A practitioner of a type of analytical commentary here would be Vinny of Vinesauce, who has a wide array of experience in games played and is able to talk about the broad gaming scene.
You know, for a game like this, you do kind of have to go bigger for a sequel because that's what's expected. And also, you know, it's Bayonetta. You want crazy things to happen, lots of them. But, I don't know, there's a part of me that just enjoys fighting a couple dudes in a hallway with Bayonetta's punching and kicking and a sword. Or something, you know? So basically my ideal game is Bayonetta 1 and 2. Here's another high bar. I think the last game like this that I played was Devil May Cry 5. Well, actually Astral Chain. Which was good, but not as good as Devil May Cry 5.
One of the earliest examples I've personally and recently viewed of a sort of analytical commentary comes from the members of Super Best Friends Play.
Green is life. Or acid. I'd shoot a green barrel, because I'd be like, does it shoot acid?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Borderlands does have that. Well, here's the thing. You have two bars on the screen. One is red and one is green. Which one's your life?
Green.
Red. If it's Dark Souls, it's red.
Well, that's the fucking problem now, isn't it?
If the game has the concept of stamina,
And so game design on the 101 is like, that clarity needs to never come into question.
Like for a long
The God of War 2018 Let's Play is a good example of the super best friends trying to think ahead of the game they're playing. They commonly have forward-thinking or experienced insight into the games they're playing and are consciously setting expectations for the design decisions that such games are building up. The super best friends usually do Let's Plays and are not streamers, but there is a sort of skill transfer from a Let's Play to a live video game stream. I'm sure other Let's Players have similar quality commentary to them, but I'm personally more certain about Super Best Friends Play. Another analytical live commentator is Joseph Anderson.
My name is Joseph Anderson. I am a games critic and sort of a streamer.
I mean, yeah, of course. The video essayist slash streamer, who may be more of a streamer for others and has built a reputation for written analysis of video games, does live analysis on a regular basis.
Okay, this is insane level design. Really? This is deranged level design. All right. Okay, cool. What the fuck are you doing? This is insane. Actually insane. Crazy level design. This is just insane level design. Insane level design. Like I'm just doing shit and thinking maybe that'll work, and then it does, and I'm just like, what the hell? I guess that means I'm insane. Insane level design. What the hell? Insane level design. I agree.
For unexpected and surprising analysts, the first example I found includes Lily Pichu, who is able to form educated guesses on upcoming story beats for games she is playing. She doesn't always do them, but she definitely has the signs of thinking how a story will progress going forward.
That thing's gonna come alive and it's gonna chase me, and there's gonna be more hiding, running mechanics. Hello? Yes, hello. Hello. I already know what you're gonna do. It's gonna come alive, it's gonna chase more hiding, running mechanics.
The second is a VTuber and her work as Nina Kosaka, who has notably had a long post-stream discussion on Metal Gear Solid 2. This sort of discussion on the event is incredibly rare to find in the rest of the streaming scene and mixes both the reaction and analysis approach to commentary. Nina is one of the few in the modern streaming scene to have truly and deliberately done post-stream discussions of a streamed event. As a result, her post-stream reflections for Metal Gear Solid 2 are significant throughout the entire streaming scene, as they are almost never done.
I beat up a pregnant woman. I mean, I'm okay with beating up women. I'm fine at attacking women, but I draw the line at attacking babies.
Chapter 3: Matthewmatosis Commentary. Expanding on why analytical commentary might theoretically be rare, and how Matthew's event choices means analytical chat room responses.
Alright, so does that summarize the whole game?
In my experience, Matthewmatosis is one of the few streamers who has noticeably injected an analytical approach to his stream commentary. But to nail down why he is one of the few streamers to do it, some ideas as to why analysis is rare must be constructed. To start, I'll give an expanded definition of analysis beyond what was given in Chapter 2. Analysis is where a streamer considers game design and what the possibilities are for that design. Through analysis, a streamer attempts to understand what the developer had intended for the player, why a game was constructed into its end product, and why a story was written as experienced. As many would say, this is just what Kojima intended. So, every game is different. Every game has something different to say. To no surprise, Joseph Anderson and Matthewmatosis both attempt to understand game design for their scripted work, and that attempted understanding is translated into their work as streamers. Analysis is not difficult, but it is hidden, which of course makes it rare. Any streamer can perform analysis, but there must be a desire to unravel the presence of analysis.
I wonder, I'm just noticing on this pause screen, right? Someone can probably confirm this for me in the chat. Pause in Japanese, it's probably 3 characters, right? You see the little cheeky trick they did there with the P-A-U-S-E? Nobody's going to notice.
As experienced viewers of video essayists know, analysis is plentiful across pre-recorded scripted videos. I mean, at least I would hope so. But as experienced viewers of live streams may know, analysis is not plentiful across live commentary. In some ways, live analytical commentary might be a spontaneous thing which requires deliberate practice in the realm of improvisation and does not allow for thoughts to be contemplated, fleshed out, and clearly dictated as a written script would.
You know, I'm not very eloquent on stream, and I don't really like to reveal too much of my thought process on stream anyway, because I like to work it out off stream and phrase it correctly and try and form a coherent argument for stuff. The main channel kind of lags. It lags behind my actual thought process by a while.
But I'm not sure about that. I think the reason why analysis is rare is not quite that. It's a reason that is adjacent. Although Matthew has mentioned that his analysis on the main channel takes time and development, he has naturally managed to convey a sort of impromptu analysis due to his past work on his video essays.
I just want to say, before I forget to say...
Oh, wait, this flute example also illustrates how a streamer may enthusiastically bring game design to life through the appreciation of it. Yeah, that's all I got. So, go.
The way the flute works in this, I fucking love it. I love the way... Let me just tell you about this, right? Yeah, okay, you know, I'm not a big fan of warping around and all that, right? And I'm not saying I necessarily love that aspect to it. I'm thinking maybe there's a better way to do that. I'm not gonna nitpick it because the game is just great overall. It's not gonna, even if you remove the flute, the game was never gonna replicate that sort of Dark Souls, you've landed in Blighttown, you know, are you fucked over sort of feeling that game gave you, right? So I don't think it's as detrimental in this game as it is elsewhere in some other games, right? So but even then, I'm not necessarily talking about the fact that you can warp around. I'm talking about the fact that you press the button, and the little bird swoops in and can miss you. That's just fucking phenomenal. That's just phenomenal. I love that. I absolutely fucking love that. The fact that you just like that, you can move out of the way and he doesn't grab you. He has to actually touch you to grab you and go to the warp point. It's just this weird, bizarre, tiny little intricacy to the game, which means that you can press the flute button, but an enemy can come over and knock you out of the way, and now you don't get your warp. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it just for that reason alone. It's fantastic. I'm telling you, I know this sounds like, oh, he's done it again. He's gone off the deep end again. That means something. That little intricacy in there for almost no fucking reason. It's something that you can learn from. What do you feel about Earthbound's warp? I don't remember how Earthbound's warp works. You needed enough distance to pull off a warp. Oh, right. Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I was thinking of the taxi. Isn't there a taxi?
And in other cases, analytical enthusiasm and appreciation may instead fast travel to criticism.
Whew. Tensions are high on the Crash Bandicoot stream. I mean, this doesn't really make him any harder. He's still really easy. Oh, I don't like that pose. Oh, that floaty over. See, it's those little things, and I'm sure the developers don't like them either, you know? Just sort of float over to him. Just drag and drop onto his body. Did I say a word that entire level? Yeah, I'm just bored. Oh, you can tell I really don't give a fuck anymore.
His off-stream and scripted work lends itself to his spontaneous commentary, which leads me to say that analysis is not rare for streamers because of a lack of improvisational practice. It's more likely that it's rare because analysis is something that must be practiced as a mindset towards video games and embraced to the point where it's all-encompassing. To say it is all-encompassing is not only to habitually use the mindset of breaking down the components of a game at all times, but to also think about video games as interconnected. Again, every game is different. Every critically acclaimed game influences many inspired games down the road. So, one may find that streamers don't analyze, and they don't reflect and recall past experiences with games and tie them into the current stream. For an example of recalling past experiences, in addition to the earlier one with Vinny of Vinesauce, is where Matthew mentions how Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection may revive the forgotten knowledge of the past, a sort of observation that many streamers wouldn't entirely bring forward beyond the completion of a game.
That a game can come along with a kind of wealth of forgotten knowledge. Because I don't think that Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is anything new. And as a result, it's like a fucking beacon. It's a beacon.
This is a clear case where previously gained game knowledge is obtained and kept. A penny has been taken from the developer's tray. Whereas streamers may take up trends and play a game like Dredge or Dave the Diver and won't play those games to describe what makes them fun and well designed, but will instead play them initially for the trend and then down the road, maybe because it's fun. Look. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure those streamers genuinely have fun playing a game like Dredge, but they aren't really explaining why that game is fun, and they aren't playing it in a way that advances the understanding of how the game is designed. Which is to say that many streamers may finish a game, but they won't take the knowledge of that finished game into the framework of what makes good game design, of the next game they play, or of the entire industry. Another reason for the lack of game analysis is because many may not truly see games as art, meant to be interpreted. Think of it as watching the famous film Citizen Kane without making an inference on the length of the table. If you've watched the film, you know what I mean. Similarly, imagine playing Half-Life 2 without interpreting the scene where you pick up that can, or what the canal may say about the current state of the in-game world. There's an underlying message that was put forth and told through the story with a distinguished flavor to it, waiting to be dissected. The mindset to dissect a piece of art must be cultivated to gather a deeper message from a game. It's worth acknowledging the possibility that some streamers are new to games and don't have much of a gaming background. For streamers without past knowledge, an argument could be made that new players who have a small amount of games played cannot analyze game design as they don't have much of a past reference point or knowledge on the matter, which is definitely true. However, it is also arguable that story analysis does not require a vast array of video game specific knowledge. For example, schools teach reading comprehension, which is basically the skill to break down the meaning and flow of a story. If a streamer has passed high school, then they should be able to break down the flow and elements of a game's story. That said, games and books have different approaches to storytelling, but I don't think this should stop any attempt at comprehension. And also, some schools across the world may teach comprehension poorly or differently, but that's an entirely different story to comprehend. The rarity of analysis is likely more complicated than this, and you may have the impression my explanation isn't satisfactory, especially since it's not an easy thing to pin down or to reliably source. But there's definitely a sort of lack of interest in truly immersing oneself into a game that can be felt tangibly by some or even many streamers. For this clip, Joseph Anderson appreciates Resident Evil 4 Remake's quality of life, a type of contrast to those who aren't notably interested in how games are designed or in the convenience of that design.
Oh no! Alright, can I craft from the thing? Oh, you beautiful game! Oh, well done. I am stunned. Someone gave a shit on this team.
In short, an all-encompassing mindset towards analyzing game design is usually the last consideration by many streamers, as they play games more for the viewer appeal through comedy and reaction, and less for the design lessons and literary elements of a game. These two reasons may be why analysis is rarely practiced. With the rarity of analysis laid out, now the question of where that analysis is expressed should be answered. As it turns out, Matthew's strengths reside in his community discussion, usually on video games and how they're designed. This becomes the case as the game he plays on stream can't be broken down in the same way an established streamer like Joseph Anderson would do so. To start, he does not play games he's never finished before. If he does, they are arcade-influenced games.
As if you've been watching the streams, you know I don't like streaming stuff that I haven't already played. So almost everything that I've ever streamed is something that I've already played. You know, like stuff like Super Metroid randomizers are an exception because they're kind of like just built onto an existing game. But then when I had a bunch of PS4 and PS5 games to play, I didn't want to stream. I wanted to play stuff, but I didn't want to stream any of it, you know? I'm streaming more because I've wanted to play more shmups for a long time, and I feel okay doing it on stream, whereas usually... Yeah, because they're arcadey games, I feel okay playing them on stream for the first time, since if you're playing R-Type in the arcade, you couldn't really stop somebody from coming up and talking to you anyway while you were playing it. So I do think streaming really interferes with your ability to enjoy a game. So I just don't want to play stuff that you should be experiencing by yourself. But I figured, you know, old arcade games, they were never envisioned to be played that way anyway. They were envisioned to be played in a big noisy arcade with a bunch of other people.
A lot of the fresh reactions that would be garnered from other streamers will never quite happen on Matthew's stream. But, in a way, Matthew has found a strange solution to a long-time problem of streamers not finishing games.
What, you got sucked into a wormhole. Oh yeah, I'll finish Hollow Knight. Oh, I know. I'll do Monster Rancher too. I know. Trust me, I know.
He will never quite have any stream series or playthrough hang in limbo, as he has already finished the series as a prerequisite of streaming it. Since he has already finished the experience that a series or game has to offer, he does not have to complete it for the sake of giving the event its due diligence. Yet, when people stream games that they've already finished, the fresh reaction a player may have for that game is taken away. That fresh reaction and newfound impression of a game's developments being experienced for the first time is usually what makes a core building block of judging a streamer. Seeing a streamer able to engage with new ideas allows you to see how quick they can think on the draw, or at least integrate its information and talk about it later with deliberation. In the case that these newfound impressions turn into repetitive impressions, a streamer must find new reasons to put an event on screen. No one wants to see their favorite streamer play Heavy Rain or Detroit Become Human twice with no deviation from the first playthrough. But they may be curious in seeing their favorite streamer apply to the second what they've learned from the first.
What are we calling this?
The second gig.
Okay.
That's a fine name.
Apparently that's a Gits thing.
That's absolutely Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
What does it mean?
The epitome of a commentator using their prior experience for a tightly commentated performance would be the Silent Hill 2 Let's Play as performed by Matt and Pat of Super Best Friends Play.
So this is one of the things I really like. RE2 did this, but Silent Hill 2 takes it to a new extreme in which they don't shine a lot of items, but they do have James look at them.
Yeah, okay. Like his head tracks them slightly.
On the other hand, the epitome of freshly improvised situations from new ideas includes a streamer like Northern Lion, who is, by far, one of the greatest improvisational commentators ever.
Any game does anything. POV, you are a streamer who thinks 5 seconds of dead air means that the end of their career is nigh. Lynda.com, what are you talking about? Your eyes dart open. Basilius, arise! The Turks are at the gates. You grab your scimitar. The Roman Empire may fall one day, but it will not be today. Questions flit from your mind as if in a dream upon waking. Was it okay for Jonah Hill to set ridiculous boundaries for his surfer girlfriend to not post a picture of herself in a swimsuit when she was posting? Brother, there's marauders here. We gotta get serious.
Northernlion's commentary never quite stops no matter what stage of a stream he's in, and is constantly paired up with strange scenarios. Scenarios? The sort of strangeness, which I assume, makes many laugh. This is to be expected of a Let's Player turned streamer who has been going strong for more than a decade. Neanners is also a streamer with incredible improvisational comedy. She possesses a technical skill in crafting unrehearsed stories which few could truly hope to own.
Airbnb people are not going to be happy about the state I left this place in. I gotta tidy up in here. Maybe if I turn on the waterway, I can explode some of the pipes and cause an explosion that opens up a wall. No, it's no use. I have to find another way out.
Experienced commentators, such as Northernlion and Neanners, are the rare cases where Matthew does not live up to a career streamer's quality of improvised commentary. But with the Northernlion and Neanners comparisons made, it should be noted that Matthew is still just as good, or even better than the vast majority of career streamers out there. Using such well-practiced commentators is not the most fair comparison to Matthew's intermittent streams, but it is an obvious contrast between the highest potential of stream commentary versus commentary from an analytical video essayist without regular live practice. This is the main reason why Matthew is compared and contrasted to the absolute best.
A stream is one thing. I'm not very articulate off the cuff, and a stream is one thing, but I think people expect more when they see a video, you know?
Also, this next case, it's not a big deal in the broad picture, but it is interesting to note that sometimes his commentary is quite silent for a few reasons. He wants a casual stream, or he's very focused on the game he's playing.
I feel bad being quiet, but I did want to do more casual streams. I don't know. Always torn between trying to talk to the chat more and trying to actually play the fucking game. I didn't talk much, at least not that I can remember. Yeah, I don't know if it's worth doing more casual streams like this where I'm just playing something, but gotta focus for a minute. I'm ignoring chat again for a while. Not doing a very good job of ignoring the chat. I should have ignored you all way harder than I actually did today. Yeah, I'm just gonna ignore the chat for a while. I'm gonna mute the mic and everything. See how it goes. I'll talk to you again in a while.
What is interesting about these two cases is that you would be hard-pressed to find a streamer who takes a more reticent approach to streaming on very rare occasions. Again, not a big deal, but it's interesting to see a streamer make a decision like this. A decision that the aforementioned Matt McMuscles, Pat Stares At, and Northernline and Danners wouldn't make really. Matthew doesn't entirely fulfill both situations of expanding on newfound ideas or of tightly rehearsed reactions to their largest potential, which is also to say that a sort of improvisational comedy and reaction approach of event commentary aren't entirely dominant on the stream. Those elements are definitely there, but they aren't his main strength as a commentator. As a consequence, the commentary drifts toward a community-focused style with extended responses to questions of various topics inquired by the chat.
Oh, God. So many questions, it never ends, does it?
Yeah,
Look, I have to do chat. I'm mandated to do chat interaction. Okay? Your level of interaction exceeds what should be expected. It's nice that you answer questions, although I know it's probably annoying. It's okay. Some questions are better than others, I won't lie to you. Some questions are better than others, but it's okay. Sometimes I feel like when I'm on stream, sometimes I talk a lot and I say very little, and I hope you can forgive those moments. I am in the midst of playing Alien Soldier.
These topics may be about games he is familiar with and on the game industry. When audible analysis is needed, his responses to questions on video games can be spoken with such an element, especially because he has the mindset for it. As a side note, these questions on the game industry are adjacent to video games and aren't entirely in the field of game design he is reviewing.
I think the distinction to be made, the distinction between commercial reviews and analytical reviews. The analytical stuff that you would see is always from developers themselves. And even then, you can read a lot of interviews with developers where they don't even really say anything about the game that they just made, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's changed. I think that's still the same to this day. It's my way of saying that I think there's value in people talking analytically about games without them necessarily being developers, or without them talking about their own game that they've made, you know what I mean? Interviews tend to be more marketing than insight, unfortunately. Yeah, I agree.
In closing, analysis from streamers is likely rare as they do not practice the habitual mindset of observing video games as lessons in design and as art full of literary elements. Matthew naturally has this mindset from scripted work. Matthew's entire streaming style starts with the principle that you should not stream a game you are playing for the first time. This leads to mainly using an already completed game as a questions and answers session, even if it is not clearly labeled as such. Since the games chosen aren't quite accompanied by fresh or established commentary, this means that the approach Matthew has for a stream is significantly community-focused, since the event is meant to be a vector for conversing with the chat room. The event has a different approach for Matthew compared to most streamers.
It's always a Q&A chat. Is this what it's like for other streamers or what? I feel like I should be able to stream and not feel like I have to constantly answer questions. And I'm not complaining about it. I get it. I wonder What else can I do? Just be entertaining by myself, I suppose. Look at me. I'm playing Puyo Puyo Tetris. I gotta get a face cam. That's my next... That's my next step, isn't it?
As such, the possible and most notable analytical ideas spoken live are usually in response to the chat room's questions on external matters, and aren't always focused on the event or the game he's actively playing.
It's all about the hangout. It's not really about the game, is it? It's about the hangout. It's not really about the game.
The next chapter on enjoying a Matthewmatosis stream will primarily build upon the ideas of event commentary given in this chapter and go into an alternative community-focused purpose given to the games played on stream. See ya. I didn't need to say that.
I know the gameplay isn't why you're all tuned in here, but I do wonder, is it probably on the VOD, it's probably especially frustratingly slow progress through the game, you know? Stopping every 5 minutes to rant about Pikmin 4's controls or whatever.
Every time you do these streams, it's like only like
The first hour of the game, yeah, I know.
4 hours of stream.
It's a taster though, you know.
1 hour.
It's a taster. And they have a nice Halloween game to play.
Have you actually talked about this game at all?
Look, Cammy is out of a job, okay? Yeah, we never went back to Metroid Prime. Maybe I'll start it over again. It is a good Christmas game, I think, so.
Chapter 4: How to Enjoy a Matthewmatosis Stream. Matthew's Chat Room Mastery. A Let's Play Q&A done live.
I don't think there's going to be a long stream. Just booting up Metroid Prime as an excuse to hang out on Christmas Eve, that's all. Just think of it as an excuse. Don't think of it as me actually playing Metroid Prime. Maybe I'll just sit on the title screen and you can listen to this title screen music for the entire run, you know?
Using the prior reasoning on why Matthew's events turn out to be community focused is where a secret fourth approach to commentary and event purpose arises, to put a majority of the event aside and focus on the community.
How's everybody going? I should slow down and I should read the chat a little bit more. I think I'm actually doing alright on this stream. I think I'm doing alright on this stream in terms of actually managing to engage the chat while also not getting too totally turned around and fucked up in the game. I think this is the best balance I've ever had, these Metroid Prime streams.
The event in this case gives the streamer an excuse to be online and have a conversation with live viewers. Giving an event this sort of purpose is something that is primarily done to give an opportunity for question and answer sessions. Joseph Anderson has done this for his Elden Ring video.
Pill me? Freeze me?
This is the bulk of what Matthewmatosis does, as he very often responds to questions in chat, especially questions that are relevant to subjects he's written about.
Just wanted to say thanks for answering my questions and for being a cool cat man. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. That's why I'm taking a break now. I want to read some more of this stuff. So I feel like I'm neglecting it, as usual.
Answering questions on stream is extended by his activity on his Ask FM, podcast, and Patreon blog posts.
I want to provide people with stuff for the support on the Patreon, but I just don't know that the blog posts are a good use of time. And I definitely want to give stuff back. That's why I'm streaming more often, so hopefully if you're a patron, you like the streams.
As a rule of thumb, a streamer, especially an excellent streamer, should focus on the community chat room when a stream is in session. The reason is simple. The chat room and streamer can talk to each other live. This cannot quite happen the same way through a pre-recorded video.
Chatman wants it. Chatman shall have it. Chatman has led me astray. I'm the Chatman. Bam bada boop. Good job, Chatman.
Matthewmatosis will not respond to you live if you post a comment on a VOD or one of his scripted videos, but he may do so if you post a comment in chat while he is streaming. The main thing to think about is that if a streamer can make the live conversational aspect of a live stream significant, then a viewer will be motivated to watch the stream in real time, since they can have an impact on the stream in real time. In this clip, Matthew reads out a comment in real time by a game developer in his chat.
Advice from an actual game dev: focus on getting something released as soon as possible. You learn so much from your first several projects that getting them done and out the door quickly is more important. Yeah, I believe you.
This difference between pre-recorded videos and streams means that streaming is strongly attached to the chat room as a part of its identity. Of course, chat room responses are not always possible depending on what's going on, but the chat is still the hallmark of a stream. Matthew taking a strong community approach to streaming is a smart idea, as his event commentary won't be freshly improvised based on a new experience compared to most, or as tightly commentated based on a past experience compared to Let's Players like Matt and Pat of Super Best Friends Play for Silent Hill 2. So, Matthew has chosen his battles well and has allowed his stream to be a vector for questions and answers. The primary exception for this point of often answering questions would be his aforementioned focused shmups and casual streams. Looking at the prolonged nature of streaming, it should be expected that somewhere along the way, a stream will not be at its best performance. Plus, streamers should be allowed to shift in pace to try something new, to change focus, or to simply take a breather from the usual routine.
Do you have an estimate for when you're going to stream tomorrow? I don't even have an estimate for when I'm going to be conscious tomorrow, so no, not really, no.
An occasional change in pace does not nullify the past. The representative and successful efforts of a streamer can still be found in past VODs. If a streamer is never allowed to do different things and find their comfort zone, then the streamer will never progress as an artist and could possibly begin to see the act of streaming as a chore over time. And valuable responses do not have to be all-encompassing and found every minute of a VOD. They can be sprinkled throughout a VOD's runtime to allow some breathing space between questions, or done another day under better conditions.
Oh, you said, sorry, somebody had a sad face there. It's just gone off screen. I'm sorry. You'd be surprised the amount of messages I just straight up don't see. Because I've gone back and looked at some of the streams and I just see shit I had no idea was happening. So, yeah.
Different degrees of commentated pacing should be allowed to thrive to have a variety of self-expression throughout the scene. As a side note, this is where a highlight video can make answers to questions more accessible when they aren't densely packed and are spread out. When Matthew is in a groove, a viewer with experience of the widespread streaming scene will notice that his responses to the chat room are difficult to get elsewhere. First off, there are popular streamers out there who don't really respond to the chat room at the same frequency, even though they have way more viewers than Matthew. As one would surmise, more viewers should mean more thoughts to be addressed and inquiries to be answered. Even with so many possible messages to respond to, some of the more popular streamers can't match the frequency of chat room replies that Matthew responds with.
I just want to say thanks for tuning in. I don't have a view count up right now, but based on the chat, I'm guessing the views are probably somewhere around 100 or 200 people or something. I don't know. I'm just grateful that I just stream with no notice in the middle of the night and a bunch of people watch. So thanks for tuning in. I always think I think to myself when I'm done streaming, I think, I should say something like that when I'm streaming, and then it just totally slips my mind every time when I am. So thanks. 141. There you go.
Secondly, Matthew effortlessly understands how to expand on his thoughts in a satisfactory manner with intricate detail and without any hasty desire to put a premature end to the conversation, only holding back when he wants to develop his thoughts off stream or when the answer is quite simple and doesn't need much more explanation.
Just look at this game instead. Okay, right. There's a remake of this. Given the graphical limitations of the age, the reduced resolution works in the game's favor and makes everything look more cohesive. And
to follow up on that point, even if streamers understand that they should respond to their chat room, very few will dive forth further into the subject brought up by the chat room.
So that's that's another reason not to like remakes, because they take old games, like even remasters, like the Nocturne one, or the, just not even the new Resident Evil remake I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the version you can get on the PC or whatever. It blows them up in a way that they weren't never meant to be. I don't know.
It's with that desire to showcase discussions with great detail on video games that one would start to see that Matthew has some pretty interesting ideas about them. And Bayonetta and SMT3 are great examples of this. These ideas give substance to the stream, something to learn and take away. This is one part of what gives his streams a sort of value. The SMT3 stream is the epitome of this point. The discussion on the SMT3 VOD is so revelatory, as it is one of the rare times I've personally come away from a stream having witnessed a genuinely complex discussion on video games in the last year or two. So you start to see that with Matthew's attitude towards discussing games enthusiastically, that the streams with in-depth chat room discussion are the clearest cases where Matthew mixes analytical and community commentary. Few streamers are so good at describing the ideas of the game they're playing and the design of games in general while receiving chat input on it. Okay, look, now I know this seems like too much praise, but I really can't get game analysis from anywhere else besides Matthew and Joseph Anderson's stream. That is like live analysis, I mean.
Oh, here's another thing. Okay, again, I want to be clear. This game is very creative, and I love that about it, and I'm really glad that it exists for that reason alone. That, you know, they go, what if Bayonetta was a fucking train? And everybody laughs, and then a guy models it, and it's suddenly it's in the game. And they're like, yeah, Bayonetta's a train now. Okay, I love it. But there's a bunch of, or there's at least a few attacks like this. When this guy does his lasers out of his hand that kind of hit in lots of different directions, it doesn't suit the way Bayonetta's dodge and stuff works, because what happens is you don't know if any of the bullets are about to hit you. You just kind of assume that they're about to hit you, and then you dodge. But if you were wrong, if the bullet wasn't going to hit you and you don't get witch time, you're fucked. Now you're just in the path of another bullet. It's like, by putting the bullets so close together and having them not explicitly target Bayonetta, you make it ambiguous about whether or not a dodge is going to work. Or at least that's how it feels to me. Maybe there's people who can, you know, maybe bullet hell players are like, what are you talking about? Of course I can, you know, I'm a bullet eater, man, right? I go through Ikaruga and I just eat bullets for breakfast. So I know exactly where all the bullets are going at all times. But to me it feels like a crapshoot, where it's just like sometimes the bullet's just not in the right place and witch time doesn't activate, and now you're going to get hit. Yeah, the part where it shoots 100 bullets. Again, it's the kind of thing where you can't say it's unfair, because it's not. It's just not the kind of fairness I would associate with Bayonetta. It doesn't work every time though, Gluteus. I mean, it hasn't for me. Again, I'm the same as anybody else. When I see that, I just mash dodge, but it hasn't always worked for me. So maybe you've just been lucky, or maybe you haven't noticed when it went wrong. But I reckon if you keep playing, you'll probably come around to my point of view on it. Yeah, that's a good point. Foxy BB says, it seems like positioning is really important against the big body fights, so they want you to run away from the bullets while your demon lands some hits. That's a good point. You know, you could say that I'm getting tunnel vision. Like, you don't need to dodge it. You can run away from it and let the demon do something. That's a good point.
Thirdly, he respects the individual. He often calls out chat room members by their username, a feat that isn't often done.
Let's give a big props to Not a Skeleton and Bradley in the chat. I want to see thanks Skelly and thanks Brad, because without their advice I don't think I would have been able to do it. Skelly was right to move to the single bomb, and Brad was right that I needed to delay a little bit. Props for recognizing that and helping me out. Thank you everybody for your patience, and fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Although this appears minor, it shows a tendency to treat the community not as a blob of digital emote and text creators, but as individuals who are deliberately attempting to interact with what the streamer is performing.
Alright, how you doing, chat? How's everybody doing? All good? I'm pretty good, Matthewmatosis. Oh, thank you for using my full name like that. That's pretty cool. Matthewmatosis, that's me.
Fourthly, a narrative exists. Usually every streamer has... not streamer. I guess streamer, whatever. Usually every stream has a narrative. If a streamer is willing to put their own personality forth in the stream to give it further substance, it has two narratives. The primary narrative is the development of the event. For example, if one were to play Resident Evil 4, the narrative is about Leon Kennedy's adventures and the streamer's progression through the game.
Let me know if there's any problems with the audio or anything like that. I'd rather get them sorted sooner than later, because some poor bastard's gonna watch this video after the fact, so might as well try and make it good for them.
The secondary narrative is the streamer themselves. The Matthewmatosis narrative includes the regular callbacks to games he has praised in the past, such as Alien Soldier, Ghosts and Goblins, and Zachtronics.
Is your game studio going to be called Mattronics? No, but that reminds me of a point somebody was asking yesterday.
You see where I'm going with this. Basically, any game mentioned on the main channel. Unless the game is Twinkle Star Sprites. Not to mention his Halloween stream tradition, Hawaiian shirts, smart TVs, and whoever Mike is. These are personal stream narratives.
I'll probably make this quite short. I'm just keeping the Halloween stream alive. Keeping the tradition alive. A friend of mine, Mike, he's watching the stream, and he's going to relay, you know, if you guys have questions you want to ask or anything like that, because I know we like to kind of slip into a bit of a Q&A. So this time you can say, thanks, Mike, unironically.
The reason why streamer narratives are significant is to take something more human away from the stream. In the same way that a game like Pentiment may have us reflect on our lives through simple actions like conversing and eating with others, there's a sort of meaning in the struggle against smart TVs that will teach the viewer not to purchase unnecessarily complicated smart televisions themselves. In a more streamer-centric sense, personal narratives means that viewers will look forward to a stream because they find the streamer to be entertaining, as opposed to viewing more strictly for their event commentary or in-game playthrough. In other words, watching a stream for the streamer, not the game. Thus, the streamer can play any game they want without worrying about whether or not the event is fun.
One of the first dialogues in the Plato wrote a bunch of. Is this boring? Should I keep talking about this shit? I'll keep going. Plato wrote in dialogue, so he wrote things that are. No, it's not. I don't think. No, it's not the apology. It's not the apology. I'll find out what it is. What is it? None of you are here for the game anyway, right? Is it? Oh, maybe it is the apology. Maybe it is the apology.
Lastly, Matthew's capacity for casual conversation, very much akin to him talking about smart TVs, is also just as excellent as a serious conversation. He especially has comedic chops as good or even better than popular streamers, and has interesting perspectives on personal matters to learn from.
I do forget what I've said about smart devices in the past, so I'm just going to indulge myself again. Fuck it, I might as well just have a little rant now, straight away. Smart devices subtract productivity from humanity. The whole idea is that they will save humanity by being smart and saving you work, but they subtract productivity. You have to go and fix things all the fucking time. Just put the fucking color number on the screen. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's all that has to be done. Amazing. Fucking amazing.
The qualities of streamer narratives and casual conversation make for an extra layer of meaning to take away from the stream, in addition to the meaning of Matthew's video game discussions. Considering that Matthew has prioritized the community over the game exhibited on stream as the main event, I would like to make the distinction that separates Matthew's stream from a talk show or a podcast. He separates himself from the genre of talk shows as he very much wants to play and occasionally discuss the game he places on screen. Talk shows don't have a more active event to pay attention to, and usually have pre-planned topics or questions to talk about. It is for this reason that Matthew leans much more towards the traditional and widespread stream genre of what, I assume, many would consider to be a Let's Play. This is a bit of an oversimplification, but I believe Matthew ultimately leans towards the genre of Let's Plays more than not. With an analytical background and his well-developed community attention, Matthew is the rare streamer who can mix both thorough analysis of game design and the community at the same time. Looking at Matthew as a streamer who isn't dedicated to the craft and occasionally plays intensive games that don't always allow for the best back and forth conversation, Matthew has managed to put forth a great practice of community interaction by conveying rare and distinguished examinations of the gaming scene while earnestly awaiting responses from his chat room.
So I put this question to you, right? So here's one reason why I wanted to solve this self-cancelling animation thing. Let's say we do an uppercut. When should the input for the player's next uppercut count? When should it count, right? So let's say, what picture should be on screen for the first button press of the next uppercut to actually count? Should you be forced to see at least one frame of falling animation before you can do another uppercut? So A means that you see the last frame of the uppercut, but B means that you have to see one frame of falling animation. I'm interested in the responses here. Noodle says A, you read the input and apply to the next frame. Dean says, yeah, I say a frame of falling, it's a visual signal, which I agree with. It is a visual signal. Savok says there's pleasure in perfectly chaining them without a falling animation, which I can kind of understand. I get that perspective, yeah. Astro Beef says B, mostly because it gives an obvious signal to the player when they can uppercut again. If you use A, the player won't understand.
Chapter 5. Matthewmitosis, a successful collaboration. Collabs usually don't serve the community, but the two Matthews are an exception.
Meter then, meter. Hopefully I can jump this.
When will we get a mitosis review? Hang on, is that a review by me or a review of me?
I think they'd like either.
As briefly mentioned before, many streamers out there have community problems. They may put the chat room aside to the point where it seems as if their browser window for it is closed. Add a collaboration with another streamer, and the problem becomes bigger for the unfocused community streamer, as any focus they could have given to their chat room is now definitively aimed at their collaborator.
This is why you're a bad streamer.
Yeah.
Collaborations, or duo streams in this case, usually result in a loss of community discussion, as the duo tend to focus on conversing with each other instead of conversing with the chat. However, Matthewmatosis is a community-focused streamer. Add Matthewmitosis and the focus increases.
All he does is he plays games, and then he talks about them a little bit to me, and then he plays some more games, and then sometimes he decides, maybe I have something to say to people about such and such. And that's
I come out of my stupor and I say, the people must know.
Yeah, that's pretty much all he does.
I come out of my stupor and I say, the people must be informed. The people must be informed of the context sensitivity.
The natural community-focused inclinations of matosis and mitosis means that this downside of chat room absence is nullified. Both matosis and mitosis have impeccable synergy and emphasize what makes the stream so good in the first place. Mitosis reads the chat room and raises the questions towards matosis, after which matosis uses his analytical background to provide a detailed answer, thus cementing a smooth process due to the delegation of responsibilities.
Is there any design principles in games that you outright hate?
I think one thing that I wish games did a lot less would be contextual actions that last like any length of time. I think any chance that a game has to take something which is contextual, and it might be best if you could try and make it non-contextual somehow.
On top of this, they heighten the responses through a back and forth discussion between the two, with the chat also taking part.
See, contextual is this weird thing where everything is contextual to an extent, because, for example, even in this game, you wouldn't really think of jumping as a contextual action, but it is, because if you're not on the ground, you can't jump. So it is a contextual action in a way. Are you laughing at that? Are you laughing at me?
Sorry, I just focused in on if you're not on the ground, you can't jump.
It's true. If you're not on the ground, you can't jump. So, you know what I mean? That makes jumping a contextual action. Sorry, the laughter you're hearing right now is me blowing your fucking mind. That's what that is. You're in shock. You don't tend to think of that as something that's contextual.
Oh, here's good. What about double jumps?
Yeah. Yes, obviously. Okay, start up a new file of Symphony of the Night. Get off the ground and then try to jump. Try to jump more than once in the air. Double jump is a contextual action. There's so.
Besides these two, there is a single group, in my experience, that has likely mastered the path of the collaboration.
So the point you're making then is that, films are reviewed by, you list, Your Movie Sucks, and...
That group being Your Movie Sucks, with his friends including Scoots, LW, and Gael. Matosis and Mitosis are very much on the same level as Your Movie Sucks and his friends. The two are outsiders to the core scene of streaming who are also able to match the same quality chemistry of a long-term streamer and his experienced group of friends.
Mitoses. Mitosis. Mitosis. Matthewmatosis.
As a side note, there are some questions that have to be raised as to how the wider scene of popular streamers uses duo streams to the detriment of live chat interaction, and how smaller streamers are able to use them more effectively than some of the most popular.
think the podcast would be better with the missus or my... I never should have said the missus. We're not married, so I shouldn't have said that. I just get tired of calling her Mitosis all the time. Because it's stupid.
A reevaluation should be done on how they work for popular streamers out there compared to the obscure yet proficient community-centered streams of Matthewmatosis and Your Movie Sucks. So this is the one instance where video game and film criticism really does cross over to make something outstanding, from a streaming standpoint at least. Ultimately, Matosis and Mitosis go against many of the disadvantages that could possibly arise from collaborations. Both of them are naturals as streamers, even though they don't partake in the act very often. This feat of representing a prospering synergy is an admirable achievement by Matthewmatosis and Mitosis, or Eminem for short.
And she's not here to bully, okay? She's not here to be bullied. Yeah, she's here to take questions and read them out to me, so that I don't have to look at all your stupid shit you be saying about sucking dicks.
Chapter 6. A Matthewmatosis and Joseph Anderson comparison. The video essayist stream theory. Video essayists make great streamers. That includes Matthew and Joseph.
Of course. None other than Jill Sandwich.
Ask Matthew to address the elephant in the room. The rivalry between him and Joseph Anderson. Don't know if he wants to answer this. Who's Joseph Anderson?
He's another YouTube guy.
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched his stuff.
I've never heard of him until like right now.
Yeah, I've seen some people say that he makes videos similar to mine, but I haven't watched them.
Yeah.
I watched a few minutes of his Dark Souls 2 one and I tapped out. So.
Okay.
So I don't watch. I don't mean that to come across. I don't watch.
Yeah,
you will attest this.
Yeah,
I don't watch videos from other people. Partially because I don't want to copy anybody or anything like that, you know?
Don't think of Matthew only as a great video essayist. Think of him also as a unique streamer in the scene. The same is especially true for Joseph Anderson. Video essayists naturally engage in analysis for their scripted videos. Such scripted analysis will regularly complement and be implemented into improvisational commentary by diffusion, even if the video essayist isn't the best at improvisation. The expression for analytical event commentary is unique and valuable as it examines the components that make up an event. Joseph and Matthew are prime practitioners of analysis given in a live format. Sure, it isn't going to be some comedic riff German would pull off, but analytical commentary is a similar way for a streamer to provide a distinct insight, which would provide a different perspective from others in the field. It's not extravagant or comically provocative, but still an approach of personalized self-expression with a value to take away. In this way, Joseph and Matthew's analysis is as distinct and provocative as the comedic ideas you would find from someone like Eris, also known as Avoiding the Puddle, or Germa. Even then, Joe and Matthew are both capable of creating comedic riffs in the same vein as Eris and Germa. Furthermore, video essayists aren't afraid of expressing controversial positions on critically acclaimed games.
Do you ever feel pressure to like or dislike a game based on other people's preferences? It hasn't stopped me so far. Let's just say I don't volunteer some opinions, you know? But if I'm making a video, I don't hold back.
To clarify, the controversial positions on acclaimed games are primarily focusing on statements which oppose some sort of state of the gaming industry. These positions include how certain games make strange design decisions or shouldn't be critically acclaimed. For example, this would include a theoretical position that would state that the first Metal Gear Solid game is a better designed and written game than the second and third entries in the series. In more casual cases outside of gaming, opposing positions could lead to arguing how certain types of food are better than others.
You know what ended up being a solid gimmick though? Honey bunches of oats with strawberries. I like it. Those are good? Yeah, I thought you were about to say they're gross. I always expect someone to say some shit like that when I say something's good. Because you know how the chat room's full of morons and all. Oh! I love fucking cereal. I even like Raisin Bran, all that shit. The only cereal that's like a normal cereal that I don't like is Frosted Mini Wheats. Those fucking suck ass.
Chat, I have a philosophical question for you. that I've been kicking around for a couple days, alright? But first of all, I need to ask, it's grocery store related, because of course it is. If you get 400 grams of extra lean ground beef and 400 grams of regular beef, and you put them together in the pot, do you now have 800 grams of lean ground beef? No? What do you mean, no? What do you have then?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go with the cereal. And what's your favorite cereal?
Crunchy Nut.
Crunchy Nut? Really? You haven't been eating a lot of Crunchy Nut lately.
Yeah, it's Crunchy Nut. You don't really eat it all the time, but yeah. Expensive cereal, that.
It is expensive, yeah. It doesn't even seem fancy though. It doesn't even have like that fancy vibe.
So what? Tastes good.
Additionally, discussions don't have to start with opposing positions, but rather with curious inquiries which can form a dialogue. Some of the greatest streamers around right now, such as Avoiding the Puddle and Northern Lion, are both very outspoken with positions that go against the grain. It is due to these outspoken positions that they are able to foster real discussions of various topics between themselves and their community. Also, it should be emphasized that such discussions and arguments should be done in good faith and without prejudice. In the same vein that legendary and longtime streamers such as Northern Lion and Eris are able to confront their viewers and form a discussion, Matthew and Joseph are able to take up the mantle of such legendary streamers and do the same. This proclivity towards more confrontational discussions akin to the best is likely derived from their video essayist background.
That's just my opinion. Kind of like how, you know, some of you guys think Metal Gear Solid 1 isn't easily the best Metal Gear Solid of all time, and how the other ones are just spin-off trash. Some of you guys feel like that's not the case. And though you don't realize you're wrong, there's nothing wrong with you not realizing that you're wrong. It's a good thing that you don't realize that.
I can't figure out the shotgun. Now, maybe I'll look back at the footage and see if there's some sort of tell or some pattern to it. A lot of people are saying the shotgun's after the machine gun strafing. He's doing it very often after the machine gun strafing, but I'm pretty sure he can do it even without the machine gun strafing coming first. I think you should start flying more instead of dodging. I don't know how I have to dodge in the air then, because I can't just fly over the missiles. You will cycle significantly faster if you get better with the missiles. Treat them like a trigger cooldown. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, but sometimes I'm dodging instead. But apart from the shotgun, I like the fight. It's interesting. I'm really engaged with it. The shotgun is making me not want to continue, and that's it.
You've been pretty critical of camera systems that the player has to control manually, but isn't there a benefit to those cameras if the player wants to observe specific parts of the
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. That like there's an appeal to walking around and looking at landscapes, right? But my point is that controlling a camera is never fun. There's never anything enjoyable about the act of actually moving a camera around yourself. No, listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying, right? Because it's a subtle argument. It's a subtle thing, okay? But it's real, okay?
You need to calm down.
I get loud when I have a few drinks and I've been streaming. The longer I stream, the louder I get, okay? But it's a real thing. This sounds like bullshit, okay? This is one of my things that sounds like bullshit when you first hear it, but if you think about it, okay? My point is just that the act of controlling a camera itself is never actually fun. Right. It's never actually something that you enjoy about a game. What you enjoy, it's a subtle difference. What you enjoy is you enjoy looking at landscapes.
Right.
You don't enjoy moving the camera to look at landscapes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want to gauge the chat on this one because I feel it's an important point.
Okay.
You enjoy, this is the best way I can put it right now. You enjoy looking at landscapes, but you don't enjoy moving the camera to look at landscapes. Does that make sense to anybody? Does this sound like madness or what? Because I'm curious what the sense is here. Okay, it does. It does. Thank you. I'm glad the chat kind of understands what I'm getting at there. It is kind of one of those future things because I can imagine a future where camera controls are much better. You know, I was saving this observation for the future, but I'll just pitch it now, right? I genuinely think future generations, when they look back on the games of now, the graphics aren't going to be the thing that bugs them the most. The thing that bugs them the most will be the camera control. So that's what I think. That's what I think. I think it's one of those things that kind of sounds like madness, but when something clicks in your head and you go, this just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I got a bit hostile about this. I do feel like I feel kind of lonely in my thinking on it, you know? Like, it's a topic that makes me feel like just out of step with everybody, and that's not a good feeling, you know? I don't want to be the guy fucking... I want to be in the...
You're always the guy.
I want to be in the majority.
Yeah.
You know? Sorry if this talk annoyed anybody.
I'm always impressed by the things that set you off. I don't even remember what the question was.
Yeah, that's me. When I was talking about that, I kind of naturally assumed that a lot of the chat is going to be against me on it. I didn't even look at the chat. I'll have a look at it later because I'm interested in people's thoughts on this. So I think that made me a little bit like defensive about it. But I really do. I feel like I'm in a very small minority in thinking this way.
I feel like you being here kind of tricks you a bit as well, because I feel like you're more comfortable ranting at me.
Yeah, because you've been built up. You've been boiled like a frog, you know. The madness has like ramped up very slowly for you.
Yeah.
You know? But
yeah, I'm used to this shit.
Yeah.
So me being here, it's kind of tricking you into thinking, oh, it's fine for me to rant now.
Yeah.
It is better for a streamer to state a reasonable disagreement about a popular piece of media than for them to avoid the controversy, as opposed to the puddle. If a streamer never expresses themselves genuinely and inadvertently avoids the process of discussion, then they'll never find their position to improve in strength, and they won't become a more thoughtful artist.
You have any tips for an upstarting video essayist trying to get out a really strong opinion, and I've always wanted to anyway? Well, I don't know that getting a strong opinion should be the top priority. I don't know. I suppose the way I approach it, the way that I hope and think that I approached it is not so much that the opinion was important, but just that whatever... Like, I would say that insight is more important than opinion. Because people's opinions are hard to change. People's opinions are very hard to change, you know?
In pursuing the goal of finding the best position for an argument on video game design, both sides may learn something new and come out better for it. As such, hearing Joseph and Matthew state positions that go against popular consensus is likely to result in a dialogue, with the potential for enlightening both sides on the artistic qualities of a video game. If not a dialogue, then simply an alternative viewpoint that can be made for the listener to consider for themselves.
And if I love the game and you say, no, game bad, that's not going to change my opinion on the game because I love the game, right? So opinion, I don't think it matters nearly as much as insight. And I think that if you can provide somebody with insight, whether it's insight into why you didn't like the game or why you liked the game so much or just why you thought something about the game was clever, that can help their opinion and their feelings on the game to evolve. You're not going to retroactively change how anybody felt about a game by sharing your opinion on it. All you can do is you can try to help people see things in a different way. And maybe that will change their opinion, but it's going to happen as a result of them seeing something differently, not as a result of you just saying game bad or whatever.
Video game streamers who do not take this extra step into crafting critical ideas surrounding video games will lack a more thorough observation of the game they have experienced, and may leave the comprehension of expressed ideas throughout the industry forever in limbo, a subtle but palpable weakness. Even more unfortunate is that a streamer may never see video games as art, and only as entertainment without deeper meaning.
Because, you know, games are art, right?
In my opinion, it is seeing games as art that allows a streamer to evade the burnout of playing games monotonously and to gain valuable lessons from each playthrough. A hidden reason why video essayists are great streamers is their tendency to use their streams as community Q&A sessions, as mentioned earlier. To repeat the point made earlier, the community chat room is pivotal for a stream. If you had to pick the event or the community to interact with, you should pick the community. Video essayists like Matt and Joe use streams as Q&A sessions, as viewers may have questions in response to their scripted work. As a result, video essayists naturally respond to the community through their supplementary efforts. Matthew and Joseph are both exceptional streamers and have mastered the art of streaming very quickly relative to how much they stream. That said, Joe streams a lot nowadays, when he isn't on break for a video essay like Witcher 3.
11-hour Matthewmatosis Witcher 3 video. Oh, is it out?
As for Matthew, he doesn't stream so much. Although being an irregular streamer can be a downside in terms of unreliable scheduling, it makes it all the more valuable that Matthew tries to make the community the focus of his streams on the rare occasion that he goes online. Considering that Joseph is a high-quality streamer for his analytical insights, shenanigans, and attentiveness towards his community, Matthewmatosis is in the same realm of the conversation for stream quality, as he can provide similar levels of such elements as well. Whether you like one analyst over the other, it should be agreeable that both of them are incredible streamers. It's especially worth considering that in the scene of video essayists, Matthew and Joe are one of many. Yet, in the scene of streamers, Matthew and Joe are incredibly rare landmarks of analytical commentary with heavy community attention. If we want such a thing to thrive in the streaming landscape, we should want both Joe and Matthew to thrive as streamers. And it just so happens that both of them are working on their own video game projects, and they both have something of a background in StarCraft. Chapter 7. Matthewmatosis Case Study. Matthew's low amount of streams makes reviewing him easier than others, and quality streamed is greater than quantity streamed. Fortunately, Matthew is the rare streamer who has managed to archive nearly every stream he has started. Stream VODs are important as they allow past performances to matter and to be revisited. For those interested, the statistics shown on screen are Matthew's hours streamed per year. Matthew has a total of around 323 hours streamed out of nearly 80 streams. That's around 4 hours per stream, with a majority of them done from 2020 all the way to 2023. As one may surmise, 323 hours is not a small amount, but it is much less than career streamers out there. As mentioned before, Matthew infrequently streams, but he has a well-developed understanding of streaming. This is also where I personally admit that a big reason why this review was made is that Matthew is probably one of the easiest streamers with a substantial style to comprehensively understand due to the low amount of VODs he has. A review of Matthew can more easily cover a majority of his work. To review another streamer would require a deeper dive into their content, which is difficult due to the immense catalog that others have. Imagine trying to do a Germa or Vinesauce Vinny review. It would take an extreme amount of time and would be less comprehensive, only focusing on the more specific and recent parts of their work. A review of those two and other similar streamers would have to be approached piece by piece instead of looking at the sum of its parts. The quality of understanding the art of a stream is greater than the quantity of the amounts you stream. It's likely that Matthew doesn't watch many streamers himself, as shown by his response to VTubers, which means that a good streamer does not necessarily need experience of the scene to perform well in it. What's quite clear is that Matthew does not have an outlined schedule. A career streamer should, to an extent, be judged by their ability to keep a steady schedule. A schedule allows the viewer's expectations of a stream start to be reaffirmed, and for the streamer to maintain good attendance with preparation and quality commentary. When viewers are able to expect your work at a specified time, they can plan their own schedule around it and successfully watch it live, which is ultimately a boon to the goal of streaming as an occupation. In acknowledgement of the benefits of a schedule, Matthew's irregular schedule shouldn't be a massive downside, and a streamer shouldn't be defined by a consistent schedule. The actual quality of a streamer's work does not come from their regular attendance. It comes from their ability to generate quality commentary as soon as they are live. A streamer could be on time for their schedule over an entire year, but this punctuality would not be as valuable in engaging the viewer through captivating and forward-thinking commentary. A notable example of a streamer with an increasingly irregular schedule is Germa. Germa is a recent career streamer who has decided to take a step back from the occupation and enter a sort of soft retirement. Although his performances will be less common, his stream quality before and after should not change if he maintains his unique ideas for events and comedic skill.
You think you would have done that?
In fact, his recent 2024 stream event planning is a sign that he can maintain his quality despite streaming less. When it comes to Matthew's commentary on his in-game actions, he's basically in line with many career streamers out there. Matthew is relatively inexperienced, yet he has similar commentary skills despite others putting in more time in the field. Maybe because he does commentaries on YouTube and that kind of transfers the skill over, but I don't know, that's just a guess.
I don't watch VTubers, but I'm open to recommendations. Who should I watch? I'll watch a VTuber after the stream, will I? If I remember. I want to know what's going on out there in the world, you know? What you're all getting up to. Save yourself. Oh yeah, I asked for recommendations and then I didn't look at any of them. Oh, there we go. Amano Pikame. Yeah, I'm actually curious about this, so sure I'll watch one. I'm not gonna tell you who I watch though. That's between me and her. I presume they're all girls. Hello VTuber. Hello. Good game. Whoever you are, it was a good game. Yeah, I said in the last stream that I was going to try and watch a VTuber to understand it, didn't I? Actually, I didn't spend much time on it, but I did end up watching some girl who looks like a sheep. Watched her for a few minutes. Well, I say sheep, she kind of looks like a ram. She has horns. So, maybe she isn't the right word, but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really into it. She has a cute laugh though. She had kind of a breathy laugh, which is quite unique, you know? I don't know which one that is. It's not something that I'm into, but I am interested in understanding these kinds of things and staying up with the subculture, you know, keeping in touch. Yeah, I'm surprised so many people know the name of who I was talking about. Man, I don't know her name. I watched her. I don't remember the name.
Chapter 8. Matthewmatosis. A perfect streamer? The conclusion, summary, and too long didn't watch. To summarize, Matthew is a top-tier streamer. Video game analysis is thriving when it comes to scripted, pre-recorded videos, but it's an endangered species in the live stream world. It is an incredibly rare commentated approach to streaming, which makes it all the more valuable that Matthewmatosis will regularly express insightful ideas about video games with great attention towards members of his community chat room. You won't exactly get a level of in-depth commentary equivalent to his video essays through one of his live streams, but that's completely okay. A stream is fully about the chat room, and Matthew understands that. His thought-provoking responses on reviewing games in the industry they reside in give substance and meaning to his streams, something memorable to take away. Much like Joseph Anderson, Matthew benefits from his background as a video essayist by exhibiting a willingness to answer questions about his scripted work and by implementing the skills gained from scripted analysis into live discussions. Live discussions which allow the viewer and streamer to build stronger positions on topics of the gaming industry. Matthewmatosis is also a streamer who has the management and understanding on how to prioritize the community with the assistance and collaboration of Matthewmitosis. This management both displays exceptional teamwork and acknowledges how important the live viewer discussion is for the real-time format of a live stream. Matosis and Mitosis are remarkable as a duo and have managed to outdo some of the most popular collaborative groups in the streaming scene. And even if analysis is not your preference, Matthew is also an excellent casual conversation interlocutor with an interest in Kubrick films and the lobster. This side of his streams is not perfect, as he may put the chat on the back burner, but it is farther ahead than many dedicated career streamers out there. Is Matthew the greatest event commentator ever? No. But then again, many streamers are not. To be frank, Matthew is not on the level of someone like Northern Lion. However, Northern Lion is a career streamer with years to refine his event commentary. He is an uncommon example where Matthew falls short when compared to others in the streaming scene. Matthew's commentary contains enough substance to overtake many career streamers out there and to be compared to the best. His streams can be comparable to the best in terms of commentary quality through his deep appreciation of topics surrounding the gaming scene. This is especially the case as Matthew has much less streaming experience than Northern Lion. Matthew is a natural as a streamer.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for watching.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
So with this review, which I think it's fine to have this thing be called a review, if that's allowed. With this review arriving at its conclusion, I think it'd be a right proper thing to do that one thing that Matthew does very rarely. I think it's time to give his stream a numerical rating. Matthew is a unique streamer with a few forgivable flaws. Out of 10. I mean, I could give an actual numerical rating, or, you know, maybe it's just like a more catchy rating in the first place, but that's what I came up with. There you go. It kind of fits, I think. So as it turns out, Matthew has a difficult style to match. Few other streamers discuss the gaming scene like him. You would have to specifically watch others like the disbanded Super Best Friends Play Crew or Joseph Anderson to have a similar quality of involved observations for games as an art. I personally believe that in order to improve as a streamer, watching Matthewmatosis is arguably as necessary as watching Germa or Northern Lion. Germa is a humorous community innovator, and Northern Lion is the absolute master of stream commentary. But the chat responses of Matthewmatosis have a degree of insight into game design that both of them won't truly express. Anyone who is interested in implementing forward-thinking analysis into their commentary should give Matthewmatosis a listen in order to view analysis of the gaming scene with exceptional community attention. To analyze is to adopt the mantle of acclaimed video essayists in live motion and to give critical commentary an accommodating foothold in the streaming scene. Matthewmatosis, hopefully a classic. Oh, and you know how Northern Lion is ranked 101st on that one Twitch list? Does that make him the wonderful 101 of Twitch? Okay, yeah, anyway, okay, bye.